Please be aware that this podcast is intended for a mature audience and therefore it might have language that is not intended for children. Enjoy the podcast. Hello, fellow citizens of the lockdown world or of the new world, depending when you're listening to this podcast. As promised before, I have managed to bring my first guest, someone special to me. So we're locked down together, so she has no choice. Here it is, Daria Avram.
Hello, everyone.
So why I wanted to bring her is that because we wanted to discuss about college tennis, and just her college experience in general. Plus, she can bring, obviously, a feminine perspective into this. She can bring a different perspective, and she has a very good podcasting voice, as you will see after this podcast.
That's not true. You're being biased.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then we can go from there. My first question would be, walk me through your decision of going to study into the US, and how did you stumble across that decision? And I also wanted to add, because I forgot to add, that she is from Spain, so she went there. She went to the USA to play tennis from Spain, which is dissimilar to my experience coming from Romania.
Okay, so firstly, thank you for having me, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be your first guest in your amazing podcast.
Hopefully not last.
Hopefully not last. No, it won't be. I know I'm one of many. So to answer your question briefly, because I know people don't really care about, our experiences, more how we can help them. But long story short, is I decided to go to the US because I was doing full-time tennis at the time and I had the wish to become a professional tennis player. But God or the universe slapped me in the face and made me realize that I'm nowhere near being a professional. And this led to me finding out the trend that was at the time in Spain, which was to go to college tennis and get a diploma and play high college level tennis as well. And because I realized that my financials were just running out for becoming a professional, I just decided that this might be a wise idea. Because, God forbid something happens and you get injured in tennis, then you have a way out because you also have a degree. So I just basically started to approach some colleges by myself. I did not go through the typical way through an agency. I just did it by myself because I realized that why give some money to some people when you can just send some emails yourself. This is what I was thinking at the beginning, but I realized, I found out on my own skin that this clearly is not a good idea in the long run. It seems easy at the beginning, but those agencies that I ended up actually working for one after, so I got to experience both sides as a client and as an ambassador for clients who want to go to the US. And I realized that they do much more than just send emails. It's not easy to do that. And one of the agencies who found me this university, Barton College, which is where I ended up going to. But yeah, I pretty much decided to sum up everything because my finances were running out and I did not want to. I realized I could not be a professional anymore and I just wanted a way out where I could continue my studies and at the same time be in a team, because tennis is a very individual sport and I did not really know what it means to be in a team playing tennis.
I was about to say, hey, I couldn't send emails. So what do you mean? Because I went for the agency. I thought you were just going to say that, I did it myself. Who are those fools that go for agencies? And I'm like, I'm sitting right here. So I was like, that's a little bit of low blow.
No, I didn't.
And it's interesting because we went to the same college, obviously, but we had different perspectives of how we got there. Basically, you had the dream of becoming a top top player, top WTA player. And honestly, I didn't. So for me, it was like, this is the best I can get. Maybe when I was a kid or younger, I had that dream. But around 16, 17, I wasn't fooling myself anymore. I was like, this is tough. I started a bit late with real professional tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wasn't feeling the passion of becoming a pro tennis player. Like, what do I have to do? I have to travel every single freaking week. I have to train 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day with stretching and stuff. I can't even stretch for 5 minutes. Like I was thinking about all those things, and I was like, all right, I'm good academically, and I might need to capitalize on that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I may add to that, it's really interesting to notice how this college tennis is seen based on the country you come from. For example, what I mean is like in Romania, it's not as popular as it is in other countries in Europe to go to college tennis, and the only way to go through college tennis, it gives me the feeling that is through the agencies. Like, no, you don't still see, even though the number of Romanians playing college tennis is growing in the US, it's not as common as it is, for example, in Spain. Like, at the point when I was going, when I left in 2015, oh my god, it makes me sound so old. What can I say about you, But yeah.
Listen, maybe I have older listeners.
maybe. Let's not say that, we're not supposed to tell our age. But yeah, in 2015, it was crazy in Spain. Like, every single girl and boy that were not making it to pro, and to make it to pro, it's maybe 10 out of a million, like to actually make it to top 100 where you can leave from tennis, they were all going to the US. So it was just a huge trend. And then you have countries like in the UK where they do it differently. Like, they release a video on YouTube, the coaches find them, but agencies are not as popular here in the UK as they are in Spain, because as I know, as I told you guys, I worked on the other side as well of being an ambassador for these clients who wanted to go, and I tried to create liaisons in the UK, and it's very easy. It's an easy market because there's very little competition. However, in Spain, there's billions and billions, literally.
Yeah, I'm about to say that.
Of agencies.
Sorry, I'm about to say that. A lot of people there's a lot of influx of players from Spain.
Yes.
In every damn team you go into the US, especially if you play in the South, there's a Spanish name in there. And some of them might be because they're from Latin America, but most of them come from Spain.
Yeah. They have such a big tennis population there. Tennis is one of the top sports in Spain. And despite all the girls and boys who have gone to the US, there's still a few left, in the competitions. But it is true that when I go back, I notice how everyone I used to play with is left for the US. It's crazy. Like, they all disappeared. There's only like 2-3 leftovers who are just playing the regular tournaments and have not gone to the US because it's too far. And Spanish are actually tend to be very close to family as well. Right. So it's one of the countries who gives up harder on family, and a lot of them end up coming back after their US experience.
But I like that. I see a lot of even my friends that are from Spain, they returned back to Spain after 4 years or whatever, 6 years if you do grad school too. They return back to Spain, like you said. They value that. And
they do.
Why wouldn't you? Spain is
I appreciate that about them. Clearly they need to teach us some skills to these Romanians who just leave the country and never come back in 20 years.
Yeah, raise our hands. Huh?
Yeah.
So my second question would be, how tough was making the video? Maybe some of our listeners are going through that stage and they're a bit nervous of that. How tough was making the video and obviously sending for the agencies, and also how tough was it studying for the SAT?
Okay, so to start with the video, I made a video once I got already recruited with the agency, yes, if I'm not mistaken. So it was not the time when I was doing it alone. It was the time when I had already an agency who was telling me what to do and how to do it right. The actual process of finding a person to make the video or a company is not hard. because the right agencies should help you find somebody for this. They have their links already with video makers, and they should just provide 2-3 names and prices, and then you choose from that one. But to be honest, I know there's a lot of you guys out there who have some video skills. If you have a good camera and good, you need 2-3 cameras for different angles. But if you are tech savvy in that aspect, you should definitely try and do it yourself. I mean, it's not a huge amount of money. I really don't remember how much I paid, but I remember it was not like, it was below 200 euros. So it was not like huge amount. But if you can save that money because you can do it yourself, then why not? So the actual process was not that hard, and during, all you need is like 2-3 hours of training time, and they will film it in a day, unless you like are practicing really bad, and then they'll come up the next day. But just remember, you're paying them by the day, so you don't want them to come back a second day. Like, try and give your best, when you're filming it. And then for the SAT, oh god, that's not bring nice memories. So I was one of those, I don't want to say fools, because I encourage everybody to get all the resources from the official SAT website that you can. But I did buy that really thick, how many pages? Like 500-600 pages.
Well, you have to know. I mean, you kind of like you study from it, right?
You don't have to. But
well, if you're a genius, don't bother. You're gonna pass the SAT flying colors, no problem.
Exactly. Hashtag Mike from Suits. Sorry, I have to.
Mike from, of course, you plug in Mike from Suits. So whoever's watching Suits will know. Yeah.
If not, you have to watch it. Free advertising. They have not paid us to do this. But, anyway, so back to SAT book. I advise you to buy it, because with SAT it's all about practice. So don't bother, learning new formulas and new concepts now, because you have to do the SAT. Like, let's say you're really bad at maths. Okay, now I'm gonna study 2 hours a day for maths. No, don't bother do that, because it's a waste of time. Because there's so much material that you don't know is going to come up in the SAT that you're never really going to be able to study as much to be ready for the SAT. What you have to do to be ready for this exam is just practice. So you get used to the format. It's a long exam that is going to just blow your mind. It's like 5 hours, right?
4 or 5 hours, something like that. 4
to 5 hours, yeah. I mean, with more breaks, but by the end of the 3rd hour, you're already like, I'm so tired of this. So ideally, what you want to do is just practice test online. There's plenty on the official SAT website, and which Daniel, I'm sure, can provide the link to that at the end.
Should I? Yeah, I think it's progressed. I think that I have to do my research now. There's probably like new formats and new websites and new.
Yeah, but the SAT website has the updated format.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I can. Oh,
yeah. So
I'm sure. Listen. If you're going to the US, I'm sure you can search for yourself on Google.
Yeah, that's
SAT format. I'm sure that those guys and girls,
of course, but
super tech savvy. I mean, they're the generation of search. They probably can search way faster than me. They probably will post a comment to the link there. Actually, do that.
Yeah, if anybody has the link. No, but it's what I mean is just beware of those fake SAT tests that say, oh, it's half price or whatever. There's no half price. They only sell it one price. The book is only one price. You should not be getting cheaper stuff unless it's from friends. So actually, I ended up selling my SAT book when I finished with the US to a friend who was gonna go. So you can do some business with that too, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not illegal. It's completely legal, but
I think just
to clarify. So wow, we really diverged from the question.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so SAT, the key is to practice tests. It's not, necessarily the material. The material is what it is, but it's to practice, and get adjusted to doing 5-hour tests. So maybe, once a week, twice a week, when you're getting closer to the final date of the SAT, try and practice once a week for like 6 hours instead of 5, because we always want to practice, like in tennis, more or harder than the actual test or match, It's the same thing.
Right. No, it's a very good point, actually, getting used to the SAT format. It's a super valid point, because once you start studying, you get into the details of it, and you like, oh, I didn't get this word right, or I don't know what it means, or I didn't write this essay right. It varies so much, and you can be lucky or unlucky, whatever. You want to be ready for everything. It's because you don't know exactly what subjects you're going to get, what types of text you're going to get, and what types of math questions are going to get. For me, who I'm extremely mentally challenged when it comes to math, and the SAT math is the easiest subject for, I would say, Europeans that have studied math. You're probably going to do fine if you are talented. It's just if you are like me and are struggling with math, don't get bogged down into the details of it. Just try to generalize from what you're learning and try to understand the questions, because understanding the way the questions are asked is going to help you answer them. So yeah, my lowest scores in SATs and GREs were in math. So all right, applause.
But don't worry too much about the math part, because to be honest, like, it's for all of you Eastern Europeans especially, I think it's a quite easy level of maths in the SAT. It's not
right, unless you're like me.
Okay, unless you're like Daniel, which is a small exception.
Yes, exactly.
Of the great mathematical Romanian population that we have.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's probably mediocre or the worst in the class, and I was a genius in the USA. Yeah. I was in the math class the best. So
no, we're not trying to throw arrows at the educational system there. Absolutely not.
No. I'm just saying, like, math is easy, and I'm not saying that lightly. So that's good. The professors are more fun too, so that's why it was easy. You know, it depends how someone is teaching. I wanna ask you another question now. How was your first day of school, and what did you feel? You know, walk us through it and make us feel it. Make it vivid.
The first day I cried. I cried like crazy because I arrived around like afternoon, and I mean I still remember the shock that I had seeing how green North Carolina is. It's amazing. Like, landing from the plane, I thought that I was in the Amazon. I thought, like, okay, this plane just did not take me where I had to, or maybe North Carolina is in the Amazon fault, you know. Like, I was so shocked. It was just like, imagine just not being able to see the runway of the plane because of the trees. Like, it was amazing, so green. So I remember that I got to the school, and the rooms at my school were not the most welcoming, because you know how it is when nothing is decorated on the walls. It's very, like, it literally looked like a jail. I don't want to throw. And they improving the rooms now. They've renovated them, but at the time it looked like a jail, like gray mattresses and white walls. Well, whitish dirty walls, not really white.
Whitish dirty.
I mean, no, I will not. I think
shit-stained college walls.
Yes, and very, very cold. There was a problem. Well, it was August, and there was 100 Fahrenheit outside, so they had turned the AC.
Okay. It's like 40-something Celsius.
Yes. I didn't know which one to say. I'm actually proud of myself. It's Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I remember my coach writing to me, it's 100 Fahrenheit out here, so take a lot of cold, like some clothes with you, and that's how it stuck to me that it was 100 Fahrenheit. But I don't know exactly what that means in Celsius. But yes, so back to the room. So in America, you might find that they love air conditioning. In the sense, like, the hotter it is outside, the colder it is in the room. So obviously for me, especially coming from Spain, where air conditioning is not necessarily super strong, it depends, you know, where you go, but it's not as strong as the US. I was like, whoa, this is like a fridge. So imagine a gray mattresses, dirty walls, and cold room with no decoration, and me tired and in a new place with nobody that I knew. So I just broke down. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say it, but that was the only time I cried out of sadness. I cried out of happiness other times throughout my career, but I cried. I cried because it was the first time that I felt like, whoa, I was far. Like, I had just crossed the ocean. I was like, am I crazy? I don't think I should be doing this.
It makes sense. And, you know, you have a success story after college, and I do too, but don't get discouraged. at the beginning, because it's gonna be tough. Like you're painting the picture. Don't get discouraged. It's something new. It's something shocking. You're what are you? 17, 18, 19, far away from your parents. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. It's fine. It's all okay. Just take your time to settle into it.
Yeah. The key is really to accept what you're feeling. Don't get scared because you are feeling lonely or that you are feeling homesick. Don't get scared. Don't panic, because every single person goes through this, and it's only the first day. The moment orientation starts, I'm telling you, everything changes. It's paradise, because they paint a great picture during orientation, the best they can ever paint in a school. So, you might be like me, because I loved my first week in orientation. I felt like, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to live in the US forever. Like, this is amazing. And, then it starts degrading. Not in a just necessarily in a negative way, but it's never going to be as good as orientation. So just know.
It's not a message I was trying to say.
No.
All right.
I mean, like, you start, like, being in a team, you start having your wins or losses in the team. You then start having the stress of coursework, then maybe like friend problems, a breakup or two. So that's what I mean in that sense. But orientation, just everything is perfect. Food is perfect. Everybody wants to know each other. There's no conflicts between each other. The coach is very happy to meet you. Everybody's like testing you out and seeing how you play, and everybody's like, oh, like you play great regardless of whether you do or not. They still say that because they want to be in a good note with you.
That's in the girls' team. The guys usually don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Man, you have a shit forehand.
Yeah.
They tell you. Yeah.
There is quite a difference between the girls' team and the boys' team. Everyone in this world, I'm 100% sure. Girls tend to be just differently wired, so it's okay. But yeah, accept what you feel. That's my one and only advice. Like, it's normal for everybody, and don't panic, because only good things can happen from there. It's a new world. You're across the ocean. For some of you, you're on the other side of the world, actually. So it's absolutely normal to be scared. It's completely understandable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Love it. I love it. How were your practices different from the one in Spain?
So they were different mainly because of the atmosphere. In Spain, everything was individualistic, and not just in Spain. I mean, where I had trained before, everything was individual, because tennis is an individual sport, even though you do have a team behind you. But on the court, you're alone, and you don't necessarily, shout out any names of mascots or any names of teammates. It's not necessarily very popular to do that. Very common, not popular. Yes, it's popular. Yeah. Guys, English is not my first language, so I still have my limits. And then
I keep using that excuse. They don't believe me.
I know, they don't believe me, right? They want perfection. But in the US, the trainings, not only were they more structured in regards of time. For me, it was a huge change also, because I was coming from 2 years where everybody around me was doing the best for me, and they were moving around me. So like they were doing the scheduling their lives around me, because I had my private coach, my private fitness trainer, nutritionist, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, I had to understand that the schedule was done for the benefit of a whole group, which was a team. And this was at the beginning a bit hard to understand, and it's normal. It's not that I was selfish or egocentric. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just that I got used to the opposite for 2 years, and all of a sudden I had to change completely my mentality and think that maybe it doesn't benefit me, but it benefits the team, so I gotta stick with it. And that's how it differs one way. And another way it differs is with like I said, the atmosphere. All of a sudden, you're a team, you have to look out for people when they need like the waters refilled if you're not playing, or when they are in a clinch match. Everybody needs to be there regardless of whether they lost their own match, or whether they had a really bad day. Like, it just doesn't matter. You cannot go into the corner anymore and cry yourself out. It doesn't just work anymore. It looks bad for you, and the coach will not see you nicely. and your teammates will see you like you're being selfish. And you will meet a lot of freshmen, first year students who do this because it's very hard to be adjusted to this. No other country in the world teaches you this fully to understand, to be prepared for US college tennis. You only learn this by going through it, or you learn this by having really good training. So like listening to our podcasts, getting very connected with the agency. There's a lot of agencies like the one I used to work for that are made up only of students who have been there, so they know exactly what will be expected of you. So, it really just depends on you to be adjusted, but you just have to be really open-minded and know that it's going to be so much different. The atmosphere, it's weird to see tennis as a group sport, absolutely, but it's so amazing. Like now that I again play individually, I miss it. I miss my family. I miss, it gives you an impulse that I've never known that tennis can give you before. So it's different. It's different, but it's beautiful.
And this was the biggest shock for me also when I got there. I really couldn't wrap my head around it. Of coming from an individual background, which tennis is super individual, especially in Europe. Everybody's trying to win in singles. Nobody's really playing doubles. Also,
yes.
You have to learn how to play doubles if you haven't played before. Mm-hmm. And now you're part of a team, and you might win a point, but the team might lose. You might win your singles and doubles, but the team might lose, and vice versa. So everything is super different. And I remember just sitting in the cafeteria and all my teammates eating together, and me, the animal that I was obviously playing in Romania, and not a passive animal, like, the solitary animal, because in Romania it's super, in my time, was super competitive, and people weren't really friends, or at least I was not really friends. I was always in competition with others, so I couldn't see them as friends. So I was eating with my other friends. I think there was a guy who was a pothead. It's the first time in my life that I saw other people, like a pothead. My first black friend. I was spending a lot of time with him. I was like, I'm cool now. Like, it was cool for me. It was new experience. And it was, I was more curious about that than sitting with the tennis team. But slowly I integrated myself, and now I have friends for life. That's how it works. Especially if you spend 4 years with them. They know your weaknesses, they know your strength, and especially in the court. All of you are gonna know how to play each other. But the thing is that you're gonna help each other if you're in a solid, good team.
If I can just add to Daniel's own experience, I had the chance and the luxury to meet his cohort of teammates. Some of them obviously because they change every year. There's new people coming in now, but I think Daniel really has this great experience. What I value about you when it comes to teamwork is that you had probably one of the best, I maybe I'm exaggerating, but I dare to say one of the best cohorts that existed at Barton, or maybe in the last 20 years at Barton, because it was amazing how united they were. And maybe this was due to the leadership of the team, or the fact that they had 2, 3, 4 people there who were fully on board when it came to teamwork, and they view everybody as family. Like there was no, they will leave their differences behind. At one point, they'll always come out. You live with somebody, you travel with them 24/7. Like you're gonna end up killing somebody, metaphorically, because it's normal. It's like a family. It's like a couple. Like sometimes you cannot stand yourself. It's normal. But I have to say that I admire that, and I think you're lucky that you were part of such a united team. And I think everybody should aim for as much unity as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were a group of definitely like-minded individuals, and we grew together, and there was a lot of cultures in there. Canada, we had Spain, we had Germany, we had Colombia, we had and the friends, very good friends to this day. So it's very cool because you can share all those cultures, and we can share it together, whether we're sitting together, traveling together, partying together. In the States. It's a really cool experience. And if you do it only for that, obviously graduate. But if you do it only for that, that's a very good experience in your life. So I recommend it only for that. Yeah. So my next question is, how did you find the coursework in college? And how did you adapt to the campus life and the cafeteria and everything?
But by coursework, you mean actual British coursework, right? Or you mean
British? No.
Yes, because coursework, there's very little in the US coursework. There's mostly exams.
Yeah, exactly. How did you find basically going to the classes and taking exams and the grade of difficulty, obviously freshman versus senior year, and your projects, final proposals?
Mm-hmm. So project. So the educational world, because in England there's a lot of coursework, but in the US there's very little. So I found it. I mean, it's one of the top educations in the US. One of the top educations in the world exists in the US actually. But there is some bits and pieces of the education that I think are very detrimental, and I'm not just saying this is my opinion, but this is also experts' opinions. And there's a lot of documentaries done about these little bits and pieces. So, for example, multiple choice. Like, as much as some of you might be hating me for saying that I don't want it to be there because it's easy for us. Absolutely, I want it to be there, obviously, because some exams should be multiple choice. But I think there's an overuse in the US with this, and this makes education much easier than what it could be. Like, I think the professors are amazing. The resources and books that you have and materials and facilities in the US are outstanding. But I think where the limit comes and where they're losing, US education is losing, is with the systems. Like, there's a lot of systematic exams.
Mm-hmm.
Like SAT or GRE, these are systematic exams. And I think the fact that only, like long text, the fact that you are analyzing somebody's critical thinking on a long text does not tell how intelligent that person is, or how that person thinks in problematic situations, or how that person thinks under pressure. I don't think it has anything to do with that. And there's actually been a lot of debates online and journals and professional people who are trying to debate this and trying to change it, but the US stands to its value, and it's very hard to change a few things there, so it might not change soon. But I think in terms of how I found it, I think that it could have been harder in terms of not in terms of what I did. I got involved into way too many things, and that made it hard for me. But I think the level is much higher in Romania, and maybe in the UK, absolutely. Like, in the UK, I did high school here from year 7 to year 11, so that would be like secondary in America, just so you guys understand what years those were. So just before university, basically, all those 5 years I did them in the UK, and I can say that even those years were not much harder, slightly harder than the education in the US, because of the way the exams were tested. In the UK, you don't have an exam similar. That's like, in the last 5 years, there's no similarity in any of the exams. That's how hard it gets. So if you want to look at past exams, you have to look before 6 years or more, if that makes any sense. Maybe then you can clarify it better. Which makes it really hard, because in the US sometimes you will literally be doing exactly the same exam as last year's class, and I think this is an issue for university. Maybe for high school, nobody really cares about high school anymore. Like, high school is no employers look at that, but university, especially if you're paying so much money or you're giving so much money to be there. I know a lot of you critics might say, no, Daria, don't make it harder, but I think it's for our benefit. Like, you guys are paying a lot of money, so you should be getting the best education. And
yeah, I understand that, and I mostly agree with you. Although, what I would say is that because of the format, which the exams are a little bit easier, I agree, it's a lot of multiple choice. I guess it stifles in a way your creativity on the exam day. But the way that professors teach and the way that they're formatted, you have 2 or 3 chapters a week, and you're always learning, and then the final exam is cumulative, the last 8 chapters or the whole book, it depends on the class, and every class has its own grade format. grade scale. Also, you will be asked, if you're from Europe, maybe this hasn't happened to you very often. For me, it hasn't before. You will be asked to do presentations, which is obviously, it takes you a lot of your out of your comfort zone. And yeah, it was funny at the beginning when I was presenting. I had like sheets of paper in my hand. I was so bad at presenting. I was shaking. My voice was shaking. It was terrible. But as you learn, as you grow, as you go through presentations, because there's no way to escape. My mind was like, shit, another presentation. Fuck this class. I want to escape. Like, no, every class almost will have presentations. That's the thing. And then you just get used to it. It's like, oh, another presentation. You become habituated with it. So, and then you start liking it, maybe. But you realize that it's not a big deal. And you're expected to do that in the US, especially. That's a country where you are expected to speak publicly, usually.
Yes.
And ask questions publicly. And it's about public and interaction with the public. So I do like the way I learned a lot. And I do like the way it was formatted. I actually learned more, obviously, because I was interested in, first of all, in the subject that I was studying. But I also was, a different pressure from the exams, Not like in Romania where you have to remember that piece of text word by word almost. It's, remember what you remember and then tie it to the information that is asked on the exam. So I do think that has really helped me remember information, plus the professors that make classes fun. Some of them, you have a chapter that you're supposed to discuss and they really don't discuss about the chapter. It's like, you read it at home and I'll talk about other things.
Are you thinking of who I'm thinking?
Yes, I'm thinking, let's talk about sex, baby. Oh, this is a personality class. It doesn't matter. Love that guy.
Yeah. But in this sense, is what I mean, that the resources and the professors that US has are one of the top because of this, because they break the stereotypical class barriers that exist in other countries like Romania. Like, I have never studied in Romania, just so you guys know, but I'm very aware of a lot of things in Romania and I support my country a lot. I'm very patriotic, so I think I know more than some people who have actually, studied and been there just because of the passion I have for this country. But it is true that I've not gone to school there, and Daniel is telling me sometimes stories of how strict the education was there in Romania. However, in the US, this is what they do. They break those walls, and they make exceptions and they make you remember information, most professors. But what I meant about the testing way is the way they test exams is that it gives a way out for those people who don't want to study or who are more lazy or who don't really care. That's my small issue with the education there. That in other countries, like for example in Romania, if you don't know the whole 5 pages of the poem, you just won't pass. Like is that it? Everybody gets to know it. You have to know it. Same.
Yeah, and you forget it.
And you forget it.
I don't know any poems now.
Exactly.
Fuck me.
So it's not effective in the long run, but for during the time you're there, like right. Everybody goes to the same. However, with all these options of multiple choice, you ask people during class, like, what did you learn? Or what did the professor say? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I was not listening, I was on my social media. And I'm like, oh, and they always tell us, but they're going to go through the exam one day before the exam, so it doesn't matter. And this is my only issue, like, it just gives them a way out. And this upsets me, to be honest, because it also pulls people like me who want to study backwards, because I'm like, I'll just get it from my friend. Like, it's okay, maybe I should go out today without doing my homework because I'll get it from them, and I don't think this will help us in our business life and professional life. So that's really what I meant. It's
a lot of basically of doing it yourself and you being conscious, because you will pass classes and professors will help you. They're not there to put you down. They're not there to fail you. Most of the professors are really there to help you get the best grade you can get. So, for that, you can relax. They'll be friendly. But also try to remember this information and engage in other activities and internships, because it's super competitive. And if everyone has a degree, because all people have degrees now, no one has a degree. So make sure that you do something that separates you from the crowd a little bit. I would say something that Daria here did much better than me, and something that I had to struggle after finishing college and grad school, not engaging in enough internships or in enough activities. Obviously, don't overstretch, but try to,
Please don't.
Don't overstretch.
It's a fine line between a yes and a no, sometimes in the US. Saying yes to everything or saying no to some things. Do you want to tell them about extra credit? Because maybe some of them don't really know what that is. That they are listening to.
Oh, yeah. Basically, extra credit is something that you do to recover your grade. It's something that is not included in the initial grade. And you can do like small points. Let's say for the exam you get something out of 100 points. That extra credit would be 10, maybe maximum 20 points sometimes. Let's say you got an 80 on the exam and you do some extra credit, whatever your professor. I mean, there's so many variable activities that you can do for extra credit, including watching a documentary and writing about it and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun stuff that you actually can do, and you can recover part of that grade. If you are very conscious, if you want very good grades, or if you want to pass. Sometimes there's people in a situation that like, listen, I have a F and the 20 points will get me to a D or to a C, whatever. Yeah. So that's what it is. All right, so this was part 1 of the episode with Daria. Tune in the next week for the second part of the episode. We have around another 40 minutes of the episode. I hope you enjoy it.